It's a very fluid and fast-moving situation. Do we have a possible deadline for resolution at this point?
Yeah, well, Sherry, a number of deadlines have been set over the course of the weekend, but the next one that's the sort of line in the sand that we're hearing from sources is that Sam Altman and his supporters have set a deadline of 5 p.m. San Francisco time, so just in another couple of hours from now, but essentially saying that the board would need to accede to his demands and by that point in order to bring him back as CEO. But as I said, there has been a number of these sort of deadlines that have been set over the course of this weekend, so perhaps it could be a bit of a moving target, more like. But yes, the resolution, it could come quickly if it does come at all. But essentially what we know is that from social media, at least, Sam Altman has been at the OpenAI office just in the last couple of hours. And we do know as well that there's a lot of people that really do want to see him reinstated at the company. So this comes from people inside OpenAI. For instance, Mira Murati, who's now interim CEO, OpenAI's chief strategy officer, its COO. That's a lot of people at the C-suite level that want to see him reinstated. But you've also got investors as well. And chief among them, of course, is Microsoft. It has been the biggest backer of OpenAI to date. And we understand that Microsoft's CEO, Satya Nadella, is the one who's actually leading these negotiations that are going on behind the scenes to bring Sam Altman back and trying to negotiate and reach a resolution between these different factions of the board. But what does appear to be at stake really is at that board level, because there's questions over the makeup and the sort of role that the board should take into the future.
What are the major issues when you're taking a look at this at board level?
Yeah, well, sort of zooming back and looking at more in aggregate, the key issue for OpenAI and for Sam Altman in particular has really come down to the commercial aspect of artificial intelligence. And it's something that really has perhaps come up against questions around safety, education, and those sorts of factors as well. But Sam Altman, he has really driven to turn AI, which did start as a startup or a non-profit organization, into more of a successful or more of a commercial business. And so there's been a lot of issues or points of difference at that board level between the pace and the scale at which they should be cranking out products, signing up customers. And so this push for commercialization, it's really run headlong into questions over the safety of AI tools. And so that is really the key question here. So Sam Altman, we know he is open to returning, but he is said to be pushing for governance changes, and that could include removing existing board members. That's what we're hearing from sources. They're asking not to be identified, of course, because this is a very private negotiation that's also really coming along quite quickly.
I guess it will depend on how these negotiations go, but given what we've seen so far, what can we expect from Sam Altman that, as you said, may be open to returning, but with some preconditions attached?
Yeah, that's right. So as I said, he could look to return. He may want to see changes at that board level, but it's also the role that he would take. Would he want to come back as CEO of OpenAI? Would he want to continue pushing along with other ventures, starting up a new business? We already know, for instance, there's been a lot of high-profile investors that have said that they will follow Sam wherever he goes next. Sam Altman has been looking to raise funds, as we understand from sources again, but looking to raise funds for a chip-making startup. And this one is supposed to be focused on AI chips. So we know at this point, NVIDIA does really control the market for AI chips, around 80, even perhaps 90% of that market. Sam Altman, we understand, has been fundraising for a new venture that would be seen as a sort of competitor to NVIDIA if it were successful. Of course, nothing has been formed just yet. These talks are very much in the preliminary stages, but he has apparently been fundraising around the Middle East to try and raise some cash for this next endeavor. So, yes, the key question is what happens at this deadline, or so-called deadline that will come up in a couple of hours, 5 p.m. San Francisco time. Are we going to see the board really accepting his demands? And as well, we should note that he is looking for some sort of statement that would absolve him of any wrongdoing. That's, again, according to people that are familiar, Sherry, with the situation.